Good morning. Welcome in on this, where are we, Tuesday morning. And we're going to start playing with a new product of the week this week. So if you're coming on live, do come on and say hello. Let me know how you're all doing. If you're coming on and you're watching on replay, equally leave a comment. Let me know that you're watching me on replay and how you're doing, because I want to keep an eye on you all. Make sure you're all okay. Good morning, Valerie. Lovely to have you join me this morning. And do share these videos out. So do hit share and share these videos out. Spread the word. It's lovely to have new people joining us. I've got a mouthful of nearly cold tea left. And I've got an apple juice this morning. That's slightly different, isn't it? So we're going to be playing this week with the Tropical Sweet Oasis. But before we do that, I mustn't forget to tell you, if you haven't already seen, that there is a clearance rack refresh. And just as I came on to hit live, I noticed that I'd got an online order. So somebody's obviously been checking out the new bargains in the clearance rack. So do go on and have a look. They've put some new things on there. I think they're from the autumn winter catalogue from the quick glance I've had. So if you want to go and check out what's on the clearance rack, then do head over that. But wait until after we've finished, and then go and head over and see what's on the clearance rack. And obviously, if you want anything, get that in your basket and on your way, because clearance racks are always while stocks last. There is no comeback. Once it's gone, it's gone. So if you see it and you want it, get it. So that's clearance rack. That's been refreshed, updated this morning. So do get on over and check that out when we finished, and see if there's any bargains in there that you'd like to add to your craft stash. Hello Emma, hello Beryl, hello Div, hello Lisa. Oh, the gang's all here. How lovely. Right, this week I thought we'd do a bit of tropical. We'll have a bit of a play with the Tropical Oasis. We've not really had very much of a play with this. It certainly hasn't been one of my products of the week. So that's what we've got to look forward to. I have to say that I was looking through. Normally we would do a case of catalogue on a Monday. Obviously yesterday was bank holiday and we played with poppies instead, because we could. So we're going to do a bit of casing the catalogue this morning, and I was really hard pressed to pick. So I've got sort of 3 cards lined up. We'll have to see how quick we can get through them, because one of them is really quite involved, and that's why I liked it. But the Tropical Oasis suite is obviously, as you can see, my poor mini catalogue is now falling apart, and the Tropical Oasis suite is in the middle. So I keep losing pages. It is now completely loose and free, flying free. But the Tropical Oasis suite, as you can see, really bright and bold colours. Morning, Lucy. As always, in the new mini catalogue, they've given us colour swatches, and they've done that as well in the new online shop. It's really lovely, a colour swatch of the colours that they've used in the paper. And as you can see from that colour swatch, they are bold, they are bright, they are, unsurprisingly, tropical. And the Tropical Oasis suite, you get papers, a 12 by 12 paper pack. There is a stamp set and matching dies. There is an embossing folder. There are some little mini trinkets. I haven't got those out. Let me get those out. It includes in this suite the Saddle Brown Stays on ink. Now I have got a Saddle Brown Stays on ink, and you've got the refill there as well. But the Saddle Brown ink is coming in and out of stock, and certainly the refills is one of those things that's being held up at customs, at European customs. It's one of the things that's waiting for a new permission to get it through customs. So that's one of the things that got caught up in the whole customs issue that we've been having. So, you know, stuck at the sort of German border. can't get any further. So I have got a Subtle Brown Stays On ink. As I say, the Subtle Brown ink itself is the pads are going in and out of stock, but the refill you can't get. So you can't use the one number and get the entire suite, because you can't get the refill. But apart from that, everything I think is pretty well orderable. You've also got the Memories of More card pack, and I've got an open one somewhere that I'll find and we'll have a play with a bit later in the week. Utterly, absolutely stunningly beautiful. And we have the braided burlap trim. So let's have a little look a bit closer at those. So here is the stamp set. Some really nice greetings and the thank you that I used yesterday on a little card, and the May Your Birthday Be Memorable that we found, and I wasn't sure which stamp set it came from. It actually comes from this one. So you've got some really nice rest and relax, you deserve it. I love that sentiment. Our friendship is timeless. So some really nice sentiments in there. These beautiful big bold flowers, some leaves, some palm trees, and in the stamp set you've got this little pineapple which is really cute. So that's the stamp set. The dies that go with it, obviously quite a few of them are going to cut out the stamps. So you've got your two big flowers there, you've got your little pineapple, you've got your leaves, but you've also got a big pineapple in there which is gorgeous when it's cut out, and I have cut one out somewhere on a card and I'll find that for you for tomorrow. But you've got this pineapple shape and then you've got the spiky leaves on the top. Obviously the spiky leaves on the top you could use on their own as some sort of bush or something. It would be really good with the dinosaurs, wouldn't it? That one would look really sort of prehistoric. But as I say, then you've got these leaves, and you've got this sort of smaller leaf vein piece going on in the middle there. You've got this smaller leaf, you've got the small pineapple, you've got this little set of 3 flowers. And I can confirm that you can cut a double piece of cardstock with those at one point. So you could layer 2 pieces of cardstock up, run it up through and cut 6 flowers out in one roll through your big shot. You'll see why I know that in a minute, because I have been mass cutting. As you can see, I haven't finished clearing out the dies. I have been mass cutting some rich raspberry cardstock. You've also got your die to cut your palm tree, and there's a little palm leaf and another little leaf in there. So really lovely die set. So some of it cutting out your stamps, others of it standalone, really nice dies. You've then got this Coastal Weave 3D embossing folder. That picture, as with all pictures on embossing folders, does it no justice at all, but we will be playing with that, and you'll be able to see that for yourself. These are the little tropical, hi Sally, these are the little tropical trinkets, and they are gorgeous. You've got nice leaves in there, you've got your little guitar, got a pineapple flower, so they're really gorgeous. Lovely little trinkets in there to add to projects. And then you've got the papers, and the papers, well, they just speak for themselves really. They are just stunning. I really love this one with the cards. You've got that nice sort of weave on the back there. You've got big bold leaves, flamingos, palm trees, bird of paradise plants there. You've got some lilies in sort of those oranges and yellows. That's a nice background pattern. Just really lovely. You've got the tropical fruit, got all the pineapples on there. I think, have we gone through? There's just that big paper here then with the big hibiscus, isn't it? Those big flowers there, just stunning. And the back of that is like a textured green paper. They just are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful papers. It is lovely, this suite. I know I'm biased, and I know I say that about all of the suites. I know I tell you that everything is gorgeous and everything is lovely, but that's because it is. Yes, guitars, dear. Little metallic tropical guitars. Right, let me pop that to one side. I don't think I need to dip into that anymore. I think I've got all the pieces cut. Right, let's have a little look then at some of these samples that are in here. So you've got this lovely tag on here on this pillow box. You've got this little, just the paper with a bit of vellum over the top of it and the little pineapples and one of those little trinkets. I love this one. So this is that coastal weave embossing folder that's with that textured paper, and then it's been sanded back and all these little flowers. That's one of the ones we're going to have a play with. Got this one with the palm trees here, some more palm trees. So although it's really bright and bold, here's some of the memory and more cards being used in a scrapbook. Although it's really bright and bold and flowery and things, there is really quite a lot in here for the guys as well. That's really pretty. I'm going to have a go at that one. Here's the pineapple. How fun is that? That's just been cut out in white by the look of it, and then sponged, or it might be so saffron and then sponged with yellow, but really beautiful pineapple. These are the papers. This is just fussy cut paper here. So there's those lovely leaves, these beautiful flowers. So that's just a bit of fussy cutting. And then the other one that we're going to have a go at, and the one that's probably going to be the most complicated but really caught my eye, and the more I looked at it, the more I saw, is this one here. And you can see you've got those flowers in the background there. You've got some splattering, you've got die cut leaves, you've got stamped leaves. You've got all sorts of things going on with that one, and it really is really rather beautiful. So that is one that we're going to be having a go at. Just realised I hadn't grabbed my inks, grabbed everything else. Blueberry bushel, got the pretty peacock, and we also want terracotta tile. Okay, I think I've grabbed my inks now. So terracotta tile, pretty peacock I've got, blueberry bushel, blackberry bliss, old olive, and I've got a stays on. Okay, I think we're ready. Let's roll our sleeves up and begin. Let's start with one of the simpler cards. So I have done a little bit of cutting and preparing beforehand. So the first little card we're going to have a go at is, let me get back to where we were, is this little one just here. So this one is just using some of that paper. So that's that paper with the cards on, and I've cut a strip that is, I believe, was it 5.5 centimetres or 5 centimetres in the end? 5 centimetres. So 5 centimetres by 9.9 wide, because I've made a 9.9 square card paste. Now I know in the catalogue the little card is actually pool party. I've made mine soft sea spray. I'm waiting for, my pool party's getting very low. I'm waiting for some more to come in an order. So I thought we'd bring back in the soft sea spray from there, and we'll go that colourway. So that is our paper. We've got a mat of pool party, and we've got a 9.9 centimetre square card that we're going to use as a tent fold. I've also got one of the little cork shapes from the Magnolia suite in the main annual catalogue, and we're going to use that and cut that down a little bit, and then we're going to stamp. We've got some stamping white markers. I've got an early espresso one and an old olive one, and I've got some sequins. So we are going to need our stamp apparatus, so let's grab that, and we're going to need palm trees. Now, is that piece of whisper white that I've grabbed there wide enough? Not quite. I'm going to get a slightly wider piece of whisper white. put that down. That's better, because we're going to do some direct to stamp colouring to colour in our palm trees. So let me grab a magnet. I think I'm only going to need one. It's a foam stamp set, so we don't need the extra mat in there. We're just going to, and we don't need to worry too much about lining it up because we're going to cut it out anyway. So I'm going to put my palm tree in there, pick that up, and then with my markers I'm going to come in. We'll do the trunks first, and I've got my early espresso marker here for the trunks. Just going to colour on there and then stamp, and then I've got my old olive marker for the leaves on the tree. Let's get the right marker and the right end, and I'm just going to colour over this with the old olive. And we'll give that a bit of a stamp. We'll give it a bit of a more of a colour. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, let's do that sort of one tree. Sorry if I'm shaking you about a bit. And then we'll do the other tree, and then it won't dry out quite so quickly. That's a nice thing about having the Stamparatus and having it in one place. You can add in more colour where you think you need it. Lovely. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to grab the watercolour pencils and take in some of these other greens. I'm just going to add in some different shades of green. With the watercolour pencils. What else have we got there? We've got some granny apple green. Let's sort of come over the top. Hello, Caroline. And come over the top with that granny apple green. And that's just sort of added a bit more dimension to those palm trees. So let us, oh, I know what I haven't got. Let me just go and grab my chamois. Apologies if you suddenly get an echo, that's because we've gone as far as the kitchen. Right, we're on our way back. Let's just get rid of some of the water around the chamois, and then let's give that a clean up. Okay. Then I think we can put our Stamparatus away for a bit. I don't think we need it again, but we do need our palm tree die. So we're going to cut out our palm trees with our palm tree die. moved. I need to get my magnetic base plate out, or can we get away with it? Oh, hopefully we've got it that time. There we go, one palm tree. And then on a little piece of card, we just want to stamp a thank you in some pretty peacock ink. Obviously it doesn't have to be thank you, we could stamp all manner of things, but on this occasion it's going to be thank you. And we want it so that we can, I'm going to put it this end. Oh, there's a hair on that, and it's obviously dabbled into the ink, so let's just swing that round. Got a pretty peacock hair mark. I'm going to take my scissors and we're just going to trim that off loosely. Let's try that edge again, that's better. Okay, so we've got our thank you. So now we're going to take our, I'm trying to use that pineapple. Let's take our, now then, how much do we need to cut that down? Do we need to cut it down very much at all? I'm just going to trim it slightly, this edge. Just like that. Okay. The other thing we need to do is we need to run this piece of card through our embossing folder. Now, this is a 3D weave embossing folder. So we're going to pop our piece of card in there, and then we're going to grab our blue embossing mat. Rattle, rattle. So to emboss this, we need just our big shot platform, we need our 3D embossing folder with the card inside, and we need the blue plate. So let's run that through my machine. Voila, look at that lovely embossing folder. See what I mean by the picture on here? Does it no justice whatsoever? It is gorgeous. Right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to rough it up a bit. So I'm just going to distress the edges with the edge of my scissors. Do the same on the other edge. So just running the blade along the edge to give that a distressed look. Okay, let's build this little card up then. So we've got our tent fold 9.5 centimetre card. We've got our pool party, which is 7.5. I think I made that 2 centimetres bigger. Yes, actually 2.5 centimetres bigger. So this is 7.5 by 9.9. So that's going to fit on there. We've got our piece of DSP, which was 5 centimetres. And we've got our palm trees, which we'll put on with some dimensionals. This is where these little edge bits come into their own, because I'm just going to do a couple of little thin slithers. To stick on the trunk. Take those backs off. We'll have that coming, get up slightly just so that the tree is sitting over the top of the car. About like that. And then we've got our thank you and our cork piece. So I think what I'll do with that is I'll bring in some glue dots to stick that where's the next glue dot? There you are. I'm stuck to my finger rather than the card. Stick that on there, and then of course that has its own dimension. So on that card it's got it stuck over the tree, but I think because of where my car is, I'm going to bring it down on this bottom piece just here. And I think again, because of the dimension on the cork tile, I'm going to use a couple of glue dots on there. Now there is printing on these cork tiles, so on the reverse you can see there's that black printing, but I've used the other side, so I don't really want that showing through. Let's put that down there, and then we'll just add in a couple of little sequins from the iridescent sequin pot. So we've got some nice little bluey colour ones in there, so let's just grab a couple of those. Two. We have another one. Everything should be in threes. We'll have one there. We'll have that little one. Oh, just there, and one down here. So there's a little thank you card, but quite nice because it's quite a sort of a masculine looking card, even though we've still got a bit of sequiny glitz on it. But that sort of detail on that embossing folder just brings it to life really. So that's just a bit of the DSP on that one. So let's put that to one side, and let's bring in card number 2 in this marathon card making session. Now this card is, let's find it. This one here, I just loved this peephole design on there. So what I've done is I've cut a, I've got some oddments of Very Vanilla cardstock to do some flowers on. I've cut a mat of Very Vanilla cardstock, so I've got a side opening terracotta tile card that measures 10.5 by, it's a full length of A4, scored at 14.9. I know it's got a hole in, I've put it there. So I've die cut a hole out of the front of it with one of the layering circles, and I've cut a mat of very vanilla cardstock to go inside. It's obviously 14.4 by 10 centimeters, so that will sit beautifully in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this card base and I'm going to take my embossing folder and I'm going to tuck that card in there. Now that embossing will come just over the fold slightly, but that's okay. That sort of gives it a nice neat turn around that edge if it goes slightly over. So I'm just going to run that through my machine then that way. So let's do that. So as you can see, you've got a completely embossed side and then it just comes slightly over this edge over there. So that's our card front. We've got our mat to go inside and then we're going to need to stamp our greeting. So let's lay that in there like that. And let's grab our greeting, which is the "May your birthday be memorable." I think anybody that's having a birthday at the moment, they're going to be memorable birthdays, aren't they? The birthday I had in lockdown. But actually it's forcing people to be very creative in how they're celebrating people's birthdays. So I'm sure it will, if you have a birthday at this time, be very memorable. So I'm going to ink up my "May your birthday be memorable" in some early espresso. And I'm going to stamp that through the hole like that. Now when I looked on the instructions, it did say about adding some of the StazOn ink to this front piece of the card. Now I know that my StazOn ink, my subtle brown StazOn ink, is very new and very juicy, and it's not really something I'm going to be able to sponge. So I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to use this early espresso and I'm just going to rub that over the top, and hopefully you'll be able to see the difference from where I have done it to where I haven't. It just gives it, let me take that out of the middle. Just makes it pop a little bit more. Okay, so that's our card front sponged with some early espresso. We've got our mat to go inside it. Let's stick that in. So now we just need our flowers for the beginning, for the front, and we are going to use our subtle brown StazOn. Here we are, and we're going to need some of these oddments of very vanilla that we've got here. Let's just mop that side. I have lots of strange oddments of towels and bits of towels that have torn off of some of the towels that are getting a bit old. The sides have torn off and I've hung on to them because they're useful in my craft room. Right, so we are going to have one of these big flowers and two of these little flowers and 3 leaves. So let's stamp those in StazOn. Quick slurp of apple juice. So the saddle brown stays on exactly the same qualities as your black stays on, so you can watercolour and all of those sorts of things with it, because it is a permanent ink. So one big flower, and you can see with these stamps you get some really lovely detail on them. 2, 3, so that's 3 flowers, 1 big one, 2 small ones, and then we're going to do 1, 2, 3 of the leaves. I'll just give these all a bit of a wipe. Stays on can stain just the same as the black one. It's obviously not quite so obvious. You can use your stays on cleaner to get the ink off, just the same as with the black one. Right, we're going to bring in our watercolour pencils again. So let's see, let's have a bit of Pumpkin Pie, Coastal Cabana, Daffodil Delight, and put some pumpkin pie in the middle here. Going to colour that with a faint Coastal Cabana. Then I'm going to come out a bit more with some Coastal Cabana to the edge of where that stamping is. Around the edge of those stamens in the middle, and then we'll come in with some yellow a bit further out again. Take a little bit of Coastal Cabanas around the edge of the petals. And I'm going to grab a blender pen and sort of blend that all out. And you get sort of you lose those lines of where one colour starts and another ends, as they sort of all blend into one. Bringing those edges of those petals down as well. I'm not cleaning my brush off, so that Coastal Cabana goes to that sort of peacocky, peachy sort of colour. Leaving a bit of white. There we go, there's our big flower. Then for our small flower, think we're just going to have orange in the middle, and then just a bit of yellow coming out. And we'll blend that out as well. And then this one. And then somewhere we have the old olive one. Yes, that's the old olive one. Let's come in with the old olive on this leaf. And a bit of a granny apple green one as well. And just come in the centre with that. So as you can see, I'm really not taking a lot of time or effort over that colouring in. So we're just going to then blend that out. And having that stays on brown background really does make them look really quite different. So now we need a leaf die, a big flower and a little flower. Let me just die cut those. Let's put my big shot back together after embossing. So just need to find the right direction for the big flower, and just twizzling around my dies to make sure I'm cutting. So that's big flower, small flower, one leaf. Let's run those through. Let's make sure I've got the right sandwich. I left one of my plates off. So we've coloured direct to stamp, then added in some watercolour. That's the really nice thing about watercolour. Whatever you've coloured in, you can, if you've coloured in with your blends, you can add in a bit of watercolour. There's your big flower. It's one of the small ones. There's a leaf. Yeah, whatever you've coloured in with, you can then go in and add in a bit more shading with those watercolour pencils, just to add a bit more dimension and things. So whether you've coloured with your blends, whether you've coloured with your Stampin' Right markers, whether you've watercoloured, whatever you've done, you can use the watercolour pencils to go in and add in a bit more colour and dimension like we did with the palm trees. Another small flower and another leaf. These stamps are beautiful when they're coloured in. They make you feel like an artist. Because the really technical bit, the drawing, has been done for you. So, got that there. We've got a piece, we're going to take a piece of the braided trim now. In fact, I'm going to take a couple of lengths of that. It's not quite that long. Like that, I would think. And let's snip those, and then we're going to take the ends and fray them, just because we can. One. Hi Sarah. Two. So there we are, there's both those ends frayed. You can have those sort of stuck down just there. So what I might do is get a little bit of tear and tape, because we're about to pile lots of flowers up over the top of that. So they're not, these bits of tape are not going to be visible. They're not going to be visible because they've stuck to my fingers, and they're not going to come off. And obviously the flowers themselves will help to anchor this down as well. Right, so that's that. And then we've got our flowers to come in. So we've got one here. So I'm going to put dimensionals top and bottom on that one, so that it sticks over the top of this ribbon. Put another one down there. So let's stick those on. Like that. Then we'll have one here, about like that, I would think. So I'm going to just put a dimensional underneath this bottom piece just here, and then it will sit over the top of that. It will if we turn it round. Sit over the top of that ribbon. And then we'll have another one coming up here. So we'll put another dimensional under here so that that sits over the top of that ribbon. Then we've got our leaves. Oh, come here, can't pick them up. So I'm going to put a dimensional on that one. We'll have that coming down there, and we'll have that one coming up there, And then we've got this little one just here. That we're going to have coming up there. So what I'm going to do with that one is I'm going to put a glue dot on the back of, on the top of that leaf, so that it then sticks. Although we'll put a glue dot, actually it doesn't matter. Let's put a bit of snail. So let's just add a bit of snail to the bottom of that leaf and have that coming up there. As long as we've stuck it in place, that's all that matters. So there we go. So then we've got somewhere buried under here, we've got some of the faceted dots. So let's just put some of the faceted dots. We'll have one there, and one over here. Look at that. Much gorgeousness. So card number 2, we're going to go mad. We're going to go for card number 3. So we've got 2 very different looking cards. Let me just gather up these dies, 1, 2, and these bits and pieces. Clear the decks a little bit. Ready to go in for card number 3. There's the leaf die. Now, card number 3 is the one in the index at the beginning. Just here. It is really lovely. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a side opening card base out of rich raspberry card. So 10.5 centimetres wide, complete strip of an A4 piece of card. Swing it round and score it at 14.9. So you're doing exactly the opposite as you'd normally do. You'd normally cut at 14.9 and score at 10.5. With a side opening, you're cutting at 10.5, scoring at 14.9. So there is our card base. And then we want a piece of Whisper White to go on the top. I had got a piece of Whisper White just now. Where did that go? Perhaps I've used it, have I, for one of the other cards? Let me just double check that it's not here. There it is. Now we need that to sit on the front, but it needs to give us a border. So I think let's go 12.9 by 8.5. See what we think of that. Is that enough of a border? Then come down, I think, another 0.5 centimetre. So I'm going to make it 12.4 by 8. Yeah, so got a piece of Whisper White cardstock there that is 12.4 by 8. Now I need to look around. I did say that I had already been die cutting lots of those little flowers, because what we want to do is we want to put lots of these flowers round this border. Now obviously we're not going to need to worry about having them underneath where our mat is. We're just going to want them where they are visible. I'm just going to lay some of these out, and as you can see, as I said, I put a double thickness of card, and I've run the die through with 2 thicknesses of card, so I was cutting out 6 flowers at a time. So I think here I have got, if I remember right, 3, so I did 6 lots of 6, so 6 sixes are 36, aren't they? So I've got 36 flowers here. We'll see how that goes in terms of how many you want. Is that going to be enough? Are we going to want more? Let's see. Can't get that middle piece out. Let's get my pokey tool. So I'm just... Hi Claire. Hi Susan. How are you doing, Susan? Are you doing okay out there? Seen some of the things that you've been posting to say that the company are issuing you with some thank yous, which is good, because people that are working in our shops and keeping us stocked up with food and things are very important people too, and are working extremely hard, I know. My son did have Sunday off. He's been working. He's been doing a 6-day week for the last few weeks, but he's now going into a 13-day stretch without a day off. So it's yeah, it's a lot. I think this might be about right. So I doubled up the cardstock and ran that little die with 3 flowers through 6 times, and it didn't take me very long. And what we're going to do is stick those all around the edge then. So I warned you that this one was fiddly, that was very involved, got lots going on. Now what I might do, I'm sure you are very anxious for this to be over. What I might do is I might not stick these down now. I might just lay them in place so that you get the general idea, and then I will glue them in place later, because I'm sure you'll get the general idea. You don't need me to show you how to glue all these flowers down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue all these flowers on this border, mixing up the sizes and how they go. I'll stick them so that some are sticking off over the edge, and then I shall cut those off. But they're all going to stick around the border like that, and then this mat is going to come on the top. So that's what's going to happen with those. So that will give you your base to your card, is to have all of those flowers on. So then we're going to take our piece of Whisper White card and start building up the front now. So we are going to have, and I've also got some shimmery white. We're going to stamp and colour in onto some shimmery white, because we're going to watercolour these ones. So these ones we are going to stamp in black stays on, and you'll be able to see then the difference between the black and the white. So that's ready for our flowers, and we want one big flower, one little flower. We're also going to die cut some of the leaves. So we want this little leaf here. We're going to do one of those in Pretty Peacock and one in green. And then this sort of palmy leaf here. I think they're really hoping that this is going to help boost their house buying fund div. That's all right, Susan. Ellen is absolutely fine. Surprisingly, and I don't know why it is, lots of people that I've met in lots of different places call me Jenny. So calling me Ellen instead of Helen is, you know, really nothing unusual. I can only assume it's the Jennings surname, because my surname is Jennings. I can only assume that is why I get called Jenny. But yeah, lots of people call me Jenny. So we're going to have a one of these. We're going to have one of these flowers, one of these leaves, two of those, and let's go for one of these as well. So, pretty peacock, old olive, pretty peacock, and then I'm going to do another one of those in old olive. So I've got got my little bags of bits. Let's use up some bits to cut out these leaves. So, old olive, two pretty peacocks, and then we'll do another one of those in pretty peacock. Clunk, clunk. Oh dear, what just fell on the floor? One of my dies has just fallen on the floor, and rest assured it's going to be the one that I need to cut a second one of, isn't it? So there's our little frond. Look at the lovely embossing on that. They're beautiful. And yes, it was the one that I was going to cut a second one out of that has just pinged onto the floor. Now, can we see it? Yes, I can. Let me just grab that. We're going to need to poke some bits out of there, and then let's do this other leaf in pretty peacock. Still got one in there. Poke that out, and then let's poke these out. They're really lovely, aren't they, those little leaves? Let's pop them back on that magnetic sheet so they don't wander. Right, so there's some die cut leaves ready to go onto our picture. Got a stray flower there. Got a few stray flowers. Knocked my flowers. Put back on there, flowers. These little star bits that have come out of the middle are really cute. They'd make nice inners for a shaker card. Right, so here I have got a piece of shimmery white, because I said we're going to watercolour these as opposed to using pencils this time. So we do want, we're going to want our leaf in the background, and oh, here they are. I was going to say we're going to want our stamps, our flower stamps. Where have they gone? So I want one big one and one small one, and we're going to do these with black stays on. So ink that up. This is the Tropical set. It's very odd, isn't it? Susan, you get called by your sisters' names, even by people that don't know you have sisters. very strange. Right, so there's our 2 flowers. Our leaves we're going to stamp directly onto here in a minute. So let me just pop the flowers to one side. Let's cut those out and then we can start painting them. Right, got my dies the right way up, run that through, click, click. And there's our 2 flowers. Aqua painter, and we have got here some old olive and pretty peacock ink that we're going to use in the background, and then I've got blueberry bushel for my greeting. Just going to grab some Daffodil Delight actually for the centre of this flower. So I'm going to add in some yellow to this top bit just here. I'm going to add in a tiniest bit of pretty peacock to this stem. Just to give it a bit of colour. It doesn't want to be very blue. I think I'm being so gentle that it's not got any colour on it at all. That's a bit better. So a little bit of blue in there, and then we're going to come in with some terracotta tile for this large flower. We'll put down some colour first and then we'll play around and add in a bit more colour afterwards. I've got some Blackberry Bliss here. I'm literally going to pick up some of that and add in some little stripes of Blackberry Bliss. Just to give that a bit of a different tone on it, so it's not just a flat colour. Add in some more terracotta tile in the middle there. Just to darken that up. So there we go. There's one flower. And then this little one we're going to use Blackberry Bliss. And some paler colour out to the edge, and then we'll come back in and darken up this centre even more. Again, on this one we could come in with our watercolour pencils if we wanted to and add in a bit more shading and tone. But the more colour you add in, the more pigment, obviously the darker it gets. So there we go, there's our little flowers. Let's shut up these ink pads so that we don't put our arm in them. I'm going to take a little bit of scrap of pool party card and we're going to stamp that fabulous rest and relax, you deserve it sentiment onto there. With some blueberry bushel. So the flowers, so this is Whisper White, this is Shimmery White, Susan. So the flowers I've done onto Shimmery White. You could do them on watercolour paper, but I've just done them on Shimmery White. Let's stamp that on there. That was very wonky, wasn't it? It's a good job we can straighten it up. So I'm using the top of those R's as a guide, and then you've got a nice, that's a bit better. Okay, so the only other thing we want is we want some leaves stamped on here. So let's find that leaf die, the leaf stamp, and we want some old olive and some Pretty Peacock ink. So I'm going to do a Pretty Peacock stamp just there, and I want the other one by the time we've got our leaves in as well, probably about there. And then I'm going to take the old olive, I'm going to have an old olive one, we'll have one coming either side of that I think, and then one up here. Okay, so I'm going to take my flowers. Actually, before I put my flowers on, I'm going to take a piece of, not had this out for a little while, this is the woven threads trim. So I'm going to take a piece of this woven threads trim, and I want enough to come sort of down there. And with this woven thread trim, I'm going to take this little thread down here and hopefully, yep, pull it off. So that's a nice little bit of trim then you could use for something else, but what we have then is like tassels. So I've got a piece of tassely trim then, and we're going to have that coming along here, so we will stick that in place with a couple of glue dots. My glue dots seem to go walkies every time we're on live. Here they are. little monkeys. So let's pick up some glue dots on the back of here. So we'll have one there, one in the middle, and one on the other end. So we'll have that coming along there a bit. So we'll stick that down. So there's our trim. So let's come in now with, I seem to have a glue dot on my finger. So where did that come from? That's stuck either end, so that's okay. Let's get some dimensionals. And we'll have this big flower coming here somewhere. So it's sticking slightly over the edge of the card, because remember this mat is quite small compared to the card, because the card is going to have all these flowers on the outside. We're going to have that. So it's about there. And then this little one we'll have down there somewhere. I'll put a little glue dot on the top there so that that can also stick down in place. And then we've got these little leaves just here. So I think glue dots are going to be the answer for these as well. So we'll have this one here. The greeting's going to come over the top of these. This one. And this one. And then these last two leaves, we'll have one about here, and this last little one just here. Make sure we put the glue dot on the, I was going to say the right side, but obviously the right side for this is the wrong side, so we'll have that coming down there. And then this we're going to have coming in here like this. So I think we'll put some glue dots on the back of that as well, so that it can sit on the top of that ribbon. One there, and we'll put one in the middle. Like that. And then the only other thing we want is, I think we're going to go Pretty Peacock. We're adding a bit of water to that Pretty Peacock, and we'll do some splattering on there. Like that. And then for good measure we'll add in a little bit of bling. What shall we have? Oh, I know these are like gold dust and they're on back order due to coronavirus, but they will come back. Champagne rhinestones. Okay, so as I said, that was going to be quite a lot involved in that. One thing I did forget was a bit of white twine, and I think we're going to have that tucked under there. So that's just some basic whisper white twine tied into a bow, and we'll just tuck that under there and have that coming out. Either side. So there's our card mat, and that is going to go when I've stuck all these flowers down, as I said, and I won't make you stand and watch me stick all of these into place, because otherwise we'll all be here for the duration. But these little flowers are all going to be stuck down around the border of this card. Let's just scatter a few around so you can get the general impression. I'll obviously put you a picture up when I've done it. I think this will be a cup of tea once we've gone off air, and stick those on. So they're all going to stick in the background. So that gives you, it's not a perfect image, but a bit of an idea of what that card is going to look like when it's finished. So you're going to have all of that flower, that textures of those flowers in the background, and then your beautiful watercolour flowers on the top. We could have gone in with some Winker Stella, couldn't we, for that? But I just thought that was such a beautiful card that I couldn't not play with it. So 3 cards we've gone today. I dread to think what the time is, but beautiful. 3 very different cards. So we've got this one using the designer series paper and colouring director's stamp, using our Stamparatus. This one using the brown stays on, using that sort of lovely textured embossing folder and some watercolour pencils to colour our flowers in. Lovely. And then this one, it is a gorgeous card, isn't it, Glenda? And I mean, obviously I can't take credit for designing it, but the more I looked at it last night, the more I thought, oh, I've got to do that one. I love that one. Oh, look at that, that's really lovely. Oh, look at that, I like the way they've done that. So you love the first one. Now that one, you could put one of your guitars on there, you see, Div. So we didn't actually use any of those little metal elements today, but you could have gone in there with one of those little guitars. Can't even see them now. And added that to there. In fact, there is some sort of guitar paper, I think, in that pack. But yes, that one is very much a sort of more masculine card, isn't it? Whereas the other 2 are undeniably sort of floral and, yeah, big blooms as well. Not just little flowers, but huge, big blooms. And lots of ways that you can colour them in. Obviously, you can colour them in with your blends as well. We've not even started on that one. So, I hope you enjoyed that. It was good fun. It's actually getting quite warm in here. It was quite chilly when I first started this morning, but the clouds seem to have broken. The sun is out, and although I don't think it's particularly hot outside, in here in my little conservatory with the sun shining through the window, it's quite nice and warm now. So, excellent. Yes. Is there guitars on the paper? I think there may be on the cards. As the week goes on, we'll no doubt explore it a bit more. Perhaps there isn't guitars on the paper. There is just those cards. There may be in the cards. We'll have a look as the week goes on. But thank you for joining me. And I will be back tomorrow when we will play with something else, and with something else with this suite. We will use it in a different way again. So thank you to the catalogue for the inspiration today. Don't forget that your catalogues aren't just there as a shop, they are there for inspiration. Do use them, do dig into them, do look at them and think, oh, I quite like that one. I could use this paper, this die, this stamp set and make something similar to that. They are there to inspire you. So they've inspired us this morning. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully we'll have come up with some ideas of our own. So see you then.